Hi there, welcome. This is the Kelly's Astrology podcast, where you can find insight, guidance, and understanding through astrology. I'm Kelly, and I'll be your host. Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kelly's Astrology podcast. This episode is going to take a look at the week starting April 13. And in this week's episode, I want to talk a little bit about arguably the standout aspect for 2024 for the year. And that is Jupiter conjunct Uranus, which is happening in the zodiac sign of Taurus. So Jupiter and Uranus meet up every 14 years or so. And each time they meet, they're in a different zodiac sign than where they met last time. So when Jupiter and Uranus meet up, exciting growth and new kinds of expansion and upgrades become possible. So a very lively, electric, kind of sparking ignition type aspect. In terms of what Jupiter conjunct Uranus might mean, not just for this week or this month, but even for the year of 2024 as a whole, it does mark 2024 as a year of fast-paced growth and change. It also highlights innovation and invention as being major themes this year. And whenever we have a big conjunction like this, Jupiter with Uranus, there are going to be collective possibilities and also personal possibilities. So to talk very briefly about what Jupiter conjunct Uranus might mean for the collective, it really does indicate that this year is about acceleration of progress, invention, innovation, groundbreaking discoveries, all those types of like cutting edge developments in a wide variety of fields and industries. So this might show up around technology, science, the arts, around finance and the economy, around climate and environmental topics, also around food and agriculture, food supply, food distribution, those types of things. So we're going to get a lot of new insights, particularly around the tangible world. Taurus is a sign that is an earth sign, so it rules what we can see and taste and touch and what we can feel, what we can hear. So how to make the best possible use of resources is highlighted, but so is the healing power of nature, being in green spaces, the great outdoors. And I also think there's a focus on embodiment, that somatic physical awareness, being able to tune in to what is happening in our bodies. So that sensory, tactile, visceral stuff that is all so very Taurus is really amplified for this year, but it's sort of highlighted in such a way that we're learning new things and we're figuring out different ways to be with our bodies, to be in nature, and new ways, of course, of making use of the resources that are available. Now, Jupiter conjunct Uranus, I do have a little bit more of a sort of a positive kind of spin in the sense that I think it can bring us to places that are great to end up in. But Jupiter conjunct Uranus is an aspect that definitely has a chaotic, unpredictable quality as well. We could think about Jupiter enhancing or amplifying that unpredictable, rebellious, or even revolutionary energy of Uranus. And that's where we can get, revolts or revolutions. We can get that rebellious pushback. So that I guess really the rebellious energy of Uranus of wanting to push against expectation or, reinvigorate rules and regulations so they better meet the needs of the moment or the times. That is really big this year because we know Jupiter is physically the biggest planet. It has this expansive, abundant effect. And what it is doing is amplifying and making bigger that restless for change quality of Uranus and that need for innovation, which is such a Uranus quality. So with Jupiter conjunct Uranus, it is a time where there is a little bit more chaos. Things are more likely to be in flux. We've got this sort of ground shaking energy where the rumbles of change are kind of, bubbling on through. And that might mean that there is this kind of increased quality of instability. So that's something to keep in mind. And that can be affecting some specific areas of life, or, a cross section. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Before I get too far into talking about Jupiter conjunct Uranus, I do want to make sure you know about a very exciting new offering that I have, which is my Transits and Timing retreat happening in Tuscany in October of 2024. For the first time, I'll be teaching in Italy, which I'm really excited about. We're going to spend 5 days together in the Tuscan countryside at the end of October. We'll take some time together each morning to dive into the transits and the perfections to help you tune into the major shifts that are coming in 2025. So you'll get a chance to get a sense of what's going on astrologically, but more importantly, figure out what that might mean in your chart and in your life. In the afternoons, you'll have time to explore, relax, walk, taste some wine, go to the spa, sit in the countryside, enjoy all the delights that Tuscany has to offer. If learning astrology in Italy sounds like an adventure for you this year, I hope you can join us. You can find out more via the calendar page on my website, kellysastrology.com, or via the direct link below. So that is definitely on the Jupiter-Uranus side of things for me personally. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus has this sort of, support for innovation. It's an encouragement, like a cosmic blessing to shake things up, to try something new, to get out of your comfort zone, to be a little impulsive, to follow your instincts, even if it feels a bit spur of the moment. But as I mentioned, Jupiter is definitely going to amplify that unexpected and unpredictable quality of Uranus. So at a very simple level, this is definitely a time to be expecting the unexpected, but also to be open to the unusual. Things that maybe you hadn't considered as things that were important to you, you may find one of those out of the blue opportunities or ideas is just the thing to help shake you out of a funk or to bring a little bit of meaning and excitement back into your life. There are definitely going to be some surprises, some of which you're going to love, and there's also going to be the potential for lots and lots of change. Now, Jupiter and Uranus are both planets that really value freedom. And so breaking away from a very restrictive situation, wanting to create more flexibility for yourself is also going to hold great appeal right now. To get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty details, Jupiter will meet Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus, and that happens on April 20th if you're in Canada and the US. It'll be April 21st if you're in places like the UK, Europe, or Australia. So really, we're looking at this third weekend in April. Now, since Jupiter is one of the slower moving planets and Uranus moves even more slowly, this aspect, even though it comes to its exact peak strength, April 20th or April 21st, the influence of this aspect is going to be felt for quite a while before and after that April 20th and 21st weekend. In fact, you're probably feeling this energy already, and you've probably been feeling it for most of April, and you will likely feel it into the first half of May as well. So the idea here is this Jupiter-Uranus energy, it's actually been around in a very low-grade way for almost a year, but it's coming to a real fullness and a real intensity as we get to this exact conjunction on April 20th or 21st. To give you a little bit more of a sense of the energy of Jupiter conjunct Uranus, I want to share some of the headlines or the headers from a book called Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas, which is a really detailed, incredibly well-researched book about some of these big astrological aspects and what they tend to lead to in terms of life events or experiences here on Earth. Richard Tarnas has done a huge amount of research for this book. So if you're interested in some of these big astrological cycles and what they connect to collectively, that might be a great reference for you. In Cosmos and Psyche, Richard Tarnas refers to the Jupiter-Uranus cycle as one of creativity and expansion. So straight away, it's creative, it's fresh thinking, it's out-of-the-box ideas, but it's expansive, it's big, it's all-encompassing. That's where we're getting with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. When you look into the section on the Jupiter-Uranus cycle under, creativity and expansion, there are some headers that Richard Tarnas uses that I think really also speak to the many expressions of this conjunction, this cycle, this energy. So I'm going to read those headings to you and just let you take them and do with them whatever feels meaningful for you. So these headings include, and these are all themes for Jupiter conjunct Uranus. We've got opening new horizons. We've got convergences of scientific breakthroughs. We've got social and political rebellions and awakenings. We have quantum leaps and peak experiences. We've got music and literature in terms of cultural milestones. We have this concept of great heights and shadows. And we also have the idea of hidden births. So we can think about this Jupiter conjunct Uranus aspect as a seeding or a seed planting time where the wild ideas that are going to guide you over the next 14 years are really starting to take hold. And I mentioned that 14-year time frame, remember, because Jupiter meets Uranus every 14 years. So this is one of those a little bit more rare activations. The last time Jupiter and Uranus were together was in 2010. I do have a more detailed talk all about Jupiter and Uranus, which is on my website, kellysastrology.com, if you want more. But I'm going to say a little bit more about how to connect with this cycle personally for the rest of today's episode. I really do love those chapter headings or those section headings because they really speak to the lively and the animating qualities of Jupiter conjunct Uranus. I think they really capture the boldness of this aspect and the way that a Jupiter conjunct Uranus aspect can highlight a period in time where pushing past existing limits or kind of breaking free of boundaries and restriction is possible. What you kind of know is really changing. You're thinking differently about things. Your philosophy is going to be shifting. And as a result of that, your willingness to take risks or to live a life that is more genuine for you is probably going to be increasing. So if we bring all that down to this week, we might say the next 2 weeks, the time frame from say April 13th through to April 27th would be like the peak of the Jupiter-Uranus energy. This is definitely a great time to take a leap of faith, to risk leaving what you know for sure for the exciting promise of discovery and adventure. Jupiter conjunct Uranus is definitely an aspect that favors newness and represents that idea of getting bored with what's familiar or what's safe. So we're willing to kind of push the edge a little bit more than we might typically under an aspect like this. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus is a big aspect in terms of the astrological weather for this week, but really this month and certainly for 2024. But let's talk a little bit about how to see where or how this aspect might be influencing you personally. So the people that are most likely to be super influenced by this aspect is anyone who has a planet or an angle, like the ascendant or midheaven, at 21 degrees of Taurus or at 21 degrees of any of the other fixed signs. So that's Taurus, but it also includes Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And if that's you, you might already be in this period of lots of extra change, surprises, unexpected developments, opportunities for advancement that just require some temporary chaos to get to the good stuff. You might discover new delights, or you might find new ways to add meaning to your life. And these sort of possibilities to make life more fulfilling are likely to surprise you in terms of what they look like, where they come from, how they show up in your life. Now, many of us won't have planets at 21 degrees of one of those 4 fixed signs, but you will definitely have the sign of Taurus somewhere in your chart. And so you want to think about the Taurus house, the Taurus segment or sector in your chart. And the topics of that Taurus house are where your life is kind of bursting with possibility and ripe for exciting and surprising developments. They don't all have to be happening right now in this sort of next 2-week period. If you can kind of really get a sense of what Taurus is for you, you might realize that some of these kind of refreshing, exciting resets and opportunities, maybe you've been conducting your own little rebellion or revolution, they've probably been happening over the past few months. Perhaps as far back as December of 2023. And I'm thinking about a couple of people that I know. One who has a Taurus 10th house, so tied to career and life direction, and just last month accepted a kind of out of the blue job offer that will involve moving overseas. I know somebody else who has a Taurus 4th house. We know the 4th house has to do with home, with property, with your kind of living situation, with family dynamics. And this person, their family recently bought a country property, which was a total change of plan that they had been working towards, but it kind of came together quite quickly. And yes, with that surprising element, but they went for it. So I mentioned those examples to show you both how the topics of the Taurus part of your chart are where you're probably going to be seeing this exciting, unexpected, very forward moving energy. You know, this is about getting something that's been stuck moving again, basically. So to show you how the topics of those Taurus houses are coming forward, that's super important to think about, but also to show you that even though this energy is peaking now, things have probably already been in play for at least a few weeks, but perhaps a few months. So it may be that you're moving more quickly towards that exciting thing that you've been putting energy into for a few months, or it may be that there is something new that develops now. I just wanted to hold space for both of those possibilities. So this idea of picking up and shifting yourself to a new place, to a new way of living, a new job, a new relationship, a new wellness routine, this is really on point with the Jupiter conjunct Uranus energy. We're trying new things. We're getting out of our comfort zone. We're overcoming old fear. We're figuring out a way around what in the past was a barrier or a limit. And so this is super exciting and really energizing. There's just not going to be stillness or stuckness with this aspect. It is for sure about taking action, making things happen, saying yes to things, making that, taking that first step at the very least. I should also mention that if you have one of those fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, on your ascendant, so if you're a Taurus rising, Leo rising, Scorpio rising, or Aquarius rising, this Jupiter conjunct Uranus aspect will also be quite strong for you because it will be happening in one or another of your angular houses. A final group of people, maybe not the final, so another group of people for whom this Jupiter conjunct Uranus aspect will be especially enlivening and stimulating for is anybody who has Jupiter as their annual perfected Time Lord this year. So as your Time Lord goes, so goes you. So if Jupiter is your perfected Time Lord now, March, April, May of 2024, then this aspect might make you particularly restless, impulsive, or just more adventurous than usual. And another way that just about all of us can work with the Jupiter-Uranus aspect is to think about the topics of the Sagittarius and Pisces parts of our chart. So because Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces, as Jupiter is engaging with Uranus and getting this kind of electric, risk-taking, out of the box, freedom-loving energy, wanting to be more authentic, Jupiter is going to bring that energy of Uranus back to the topics of the Pisces part of your chart and the Sagittarius part of your chart. So you might notice themes of breaking free, of experimenting with new possibilities, or even just this growing willingness to be more yourself more of the time around the areas of your life connected to the Pisces and Sagittarius houses. So you've hopefully gathered from today's episode that it is a very lively and exciting time in the cosmos. There is a little bit of chaos about, but to my take, it's sort of chaos or change that leads to new freedom, or that leads to more fulfillment and meaning, or that helps you activate authenticity and abundance in your life. It's also that sort of change that gets stuck situations moving again. And if there was sort of just one piece that I was, wanted to offer you all at a very simple level, as we get into this Jupiter Uranus aspect over the next week, if there's one area of your life that's felt a bit stuck or it's felt, where you're playing it safe, this is where we can, mix things up a little bit. I'd really encourage you to explore your options and to experiment with a fresh or a new innovative approach in at least one area of your life. It's for sure a great week to try something new and to kind of break away from familiar patterns or anything that's tried and true. We're experimenting. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're just seeing how different things could be. And even though the skies are very wild, they do have this auspicious undertone to them. And so anything really is possible. And you might find that you're pleasantly surprised by what you can shift with a mix of thoughtful intention and inspired action right now. So I hope you have, a very exciting time over the next couple of weeks, everyone. Feel free to let me know in the comments below how you are being uplifted or shaken and stirred as Jupiter and Uranus come together. If you are enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, or follow along wherever you are listening. That really helps other people find the podcast, and I so appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Have a very exciting week, everyone, and I'll be back to share more next week. Bye for now.